Hey there everyone, Dr. Beth Westy here, and I wanted to pop on and talk about fatigue and fatigue patterns and how that can relate to how you're feeling, your results, and if it feels like what you're doing, the effort you're putting in is actually getting you where you want to go. One of the most frustrating things is I'm working out, I'm doing all this stuff, and I'm not seeing anything change. What the heck? And then in that process, you're getting more tired, more run down, you're having a harder time recovering from workouts. That's a really big cue to you. Say, something's off. Something's off. My system needs something different. I'm not fueling properly. I'm not getting enough rest. And for some reason, somewhere along the line, something's off in my body. And oftentimes, it's with your hormones. And cortisol patterns, your adrenals, all those things, right? Which when I go over testing with women, this is something that I, cover. But when I look at this, and I say, oh my gosh, this is somebody, and this is actually, I've had this conversation, I feel like a dozen times in the past week with women. A dozen times in the past week. So this is somebody I talked to this morning, right? And she, is like, okay, I used to be really active. I used to have a ton of energy. I used to feel really good all the time. I've had kids. I've had, a stressful job. I got out of that job and I moved into a different job that was less stressful. But, I've still got 3 kids and it's still a lot. And I was like, yep. And then she goes, with everything going on, she goes, but even before all this stuff happened, I was having a hard time. Just like starting last year, a year and a half ago, I was having a hard time. And I started getting even more tired. And I felt like I couldn't catch up on sleep. And no matter what I tried, I couldn't, get ahead of it. And I feel like that lack of energy now, I don't want to go to the gym, or if I go to the gym, I only do half my workout. I can't get through my workouts anymore, so I feel like that's part of why I'm gaining weight and can't lose it. I can't do my workouts effectively. And I was like, okay, so what I'm looking at with some of your patterns is this. And what I'm seeing is that you're tired in the morning and it takes you a little bit to actually feel like you open your eyes and wake up, right? And I call that the zombie hour. Like your alarm goes off, or you're waking up and you're like, okay, I am awake. Like my eyes are open and my body is moving, but I don't feel awake. I don't feel awake. I feel sluggish and I feel like I'm moving through quicksand or something is just really off. And then it takes about an hour, right? And maybe you're thinking, gosh, well, that's where I have my coffee and I try and slowly warm up to the day, or just, right? That zombie hour, it takes an hour for you to feel like your brain gets turned on, right? That's fatigue. That's your system not having a good cortisol awakening response, bing, lighting things up in the morning, telling you to turn on, telling your system to get going. Your cortisol levels should be the highest right there in the morning when you wake up, to wake you up so you feel awake and that should happen. You shouldn't feel like a zombie in the morning. But so many women do, right? So that's that zombie hour. That's what I call it. That's not an official term. That's just what I call it, because you feel like a zombie for an hour. And then you might feel okay. You're like, okay, here we go. Getting through the day. Okay, here we go. Okay, keep moving. And then right around this 3 o'clock mark hits. Maybe it's 2 o'clock, maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's 3:30 for you, but right around that afternoon mark hits. And this is a lot of times too, people will think it's the after lunch snooze time. Yeah, right? This is a cortisol plummet time. And for a lot of women, they're like, oh, this time hits, and if I stop moving, I will fall asleep. If I sit down on the couch, I will fall asleep. I have to fight to stay awake. I have to keep myself going so that I don't fall asleep at this time. And if I keep going, I do okay. I can make it to 5, 6 o'clock, get dinner on the table, run the kids here and there, do this, that, and the other, right? Okay, yep, but that's that 3 o'clock dip. Again, that's telling you that your cortisol levels are totally plummeting. And then in the evening, it's like you just run out of gas, right? You're coasting on fumes, right? So how I describe this is that, again, with that zombie hour in the morning, you're getting, in your gas tank, you're only getting a quarter tank of gas. Everybody else gets a full tank for the morning. You're only getting a quarter tank. And then you're getting terrible mileage with it, just burning through, because you get this big dip. And then you're like trying to fill it up, trying to get a little bit more gas in that tank. And you're just struggling with it, right? Because then by here, you're running out of gas, coasting on fumes, and you're just done for the day. And a lot of women will say, oh, this is where I'm fatigued. I need to, if I work out, I'm going to have more energy. Or if I am more active, maybe my libido will increase, or I'll feel better, all these things. But at this point, when you're this exhausted, trying to force yourself to do an activity or work out just to work out isn't necessarily just going to magically fix it, because your body's already so run down. So that's a fatigue pattern that repeats every day over and over again. And unless you're really getting the right things in your system, fueling properly, and really letting your system rest where it should rest, it's so hard to come out of that. It's so hard to come out of that. Now, the other really bonus thing that happens here too, and this doesn't happen for everybody, and it doesn't happen every night, but sometimes, if you stay up late enough, you get a late night boost. It's like the second wind, like 10 o'clock. If you could make it to 10 o'clock, right? If you can make it to 10 o'clock, all of a sudden you're like, woo, here we go. Let's clean out a closet. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. That's not a normal time that your body should be like the most awake throughout the entire day at 10 p.m. You want to feel like that right away in the morning. So that's not a normal fatigue pattern to have. You know, this is something to really work on and shift and change. So these are things that we do in the 12-week challenge. I'm going to put the link here for the wait list. You know, just so you know, registration opens in a couple of weeks, and I can only take so many people. So the registration is only available through the wait list. It talks about, you know, the meal plan, grocery list, everything else we go through, talking about nutrition for your hormones and your cycle, talking about nutrition for your body to turn these things around, because this is what makes a really big difference for women. This is what changes it all. Because if you're not fueling properly for your body, and if you're not looking at how your body functions, how are you going to move beyond that, right? It's not something you can just force your system to do. The harder you push yourself at this point, the worse it gets. And that's the most frustrating part. And that nobody else responds the same way, right? This is, some gals are commenting, they're used to yawning all the time during a workout. Yep, yawning. Oh, Sarah's on the wait list. Yes, Sarah, awesome. Yawning during workouts, right? That's not a normal response to have that, right? So this morning when I was chatting with this guy, like, yep, this is, I saw her patterns. I saw her cortisol patterns, and I described this day to her, and she was like, that's exactly my day. She goes, I've been having that day for the past year at least, maybe a little longer. And sometimes I feel like it gets a little bit better, but I just don't know how to stop doing this over and over again, because I feel like it's not only, again, yes, weight gain, inability to lose weight, but how do you move beyond, right? How do you have a good quality of life with this? You don't, right? So unless you're really taking this into account, it's hard to get to the next level. So these are all things we do in the 12-week challenge. Again, waitlist is there in the comments. Veronica, I need to sleep. Yes, sleep, rest, also important. Again, you can, eat the best, most perfect diet in the world, but if you're not sleeping and resting properly, your system is not going to repair properly. It just cannot happen. It cannot happen. So, I know this is the most frustrating thing in the world when you get this late night, like, bing, I'm so awake at night, yay! Really? Mm-hmm. And the hardest thing is that this is not something you can control. This is not something you can force. This is not something you can push with coffee. Because sometimes getting in that caffeine drip all day long, that's the hardest part to wean yourself off of. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. So that's what I got for you guys today, talking about fatigue patterns. I wanted to let you know this is a common thing that a lot of women struggle with. It's not normal. Just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. And for a lot of women, right? And this is going to be inclusive of all the women that I work with, right? Ages, right? Everybody. Everybody can have patterns like this, and it's related to your cortisol levels. Now, different times of stress can impact you where this will get worse for a little bit, and then maybe you recover from a little stress flare and it feels like it gets a little bit better, but not ever really fully back to what it was before all this started. So when you're looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been feeling like this for such a long time. How do I break this pattern? How do I get out of this, right? It's fueling your body with the right foods, really working with your system, and letting it rest. And again, all things we do in the 12-week challenge. Other resources I have for you, of course, are my book, The Female Fat Solution. This is all about nutrition that matches your hormones in your cycle, helping your female hormones, helping your body function better. Again, in the whole first chapter, it talks about how the history of nutrition is set up for men, not women. So there's that. My podcast is called The Female Health Solution. Tons of great podcasts lined up that are coming out. I'm so excited about some of the interviews that I have done recently and that are being released over the next couple of months. Yes. And then my YouTube channel is just called Dr. Beth Westy. You can subscribe there to stay updated on all the things that I have coming out. And I love talking about this stuff. I love educating women. I love giving you like a different perspective of, yeah, you might be feeling like this, but again, just because it's common doesn't mean it's normal. And there's so much you can do to help shift and change this, to move you from where you are to a completely different place of where you want to be. So that's what I got for you tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions. And again, that wait list is there in the comments, and I will see you guys later.